Jeez.
Hey, it's Todd Ault. It's September 10th.
Yes.
It is the 132nd episode of Risk On. This is our Friday show. Now, I know people are confused. We haven't been doing the daily show. What we're trying to do is do a Friday show. It lasts as long as we need to be, cover the topics we want to cover. Hopefully more meaningful. And the shows we do during the week, which some of them will be live, some of them will be recorded, will be target specific. Today's show is general. We're going to cover the market. We're going to cover what happened this week. There was a huge, I thought a really big sell-off at the end of the day here today. Jason, let's go right into where the market closed today and for the week. This is the fifth straight day in a row that the Dow has fallen. 5 days in a row, for sure.
Yeah, this is, we were looking good on the day, and then boom.
Yeah, we were killing it today.
What a reversal. The Dow actually finished down 271, 34,607. The NASDAQ was down 132 to 15,115, and the S&P was down 35 points.
We actually weren't down that much, but we were up a lot.
No, but we were up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were up a lot, though, earlier in the day. Really a lot. I mean, we actually had, from a reversal position, our position reversed around 600, 700,000.
We ended up red, right?
We ended up red about 211 grand, maybe, call it 240.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of the tickers that moved downward against us were ANY, any.
Well, for full disclosure, our shorts are working on our favorite today. We're short the triple Qs.
Yep.
We're long the S triple Qs. I actually added another 10% to that this morning.
That's
when we were up, which is ironic because I didn't realize we were going to reverse.
Wow.
And we had we covered a little bit of them, like of the position we have. We covered like maybe 2,000 or 3,000 shares. We were long about 250,000 S triple Qs.
Yeah, it's a big amount.
That's a big position.
Yeah.
And our diamond puts on the DIAs. We bought 100 of the diamond puts, and those have went up pretty dramatically. I think they're up about, from what we paid for them, they're up about 50%.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those rallied.
And then you got the S triples.
The S triple Qs, which is what I was talking about earlier. We had about 250 of those.
Okay.
What was down for us today was BIVI, BCTX, which was huge earlier today. Like we were up huge in that position. ALZN, which was up like a ton this morning.
325
on a percentage basis, like 8%.
Yeah.
Hey, never know what could happen with ALZN, right?
ALZN with a glimmer of green today. Let's see
sure.
what happens.
Those people keep selling off who were part of the original investment from 6 years ago.
Yeah, they're like.
Hope
can
you get
can
out
I say
soon,
it?
man.
Can I say it?
What?
They're like cockroaches, though. They're like.
Why?
I mean, I don't know.
Is that the right word? Cockroaches?
Well, I don't know. Oh, no, I guess that would be hanging around. They're scattering.
Like a really harsh word.
All right, whatever.
But let me take this call because it may be important because even though we're live on the air, our CEO's calling.
Let's
hey,
talk about the other indicators. The Bitcoin currently 45,759. Let's see if Bitcoin gets some momentum in through the weekend. A lot of the sell-off of the market, maybe some money rotation into crypto. Ethereum 3326. Again, it's near 4,000 here recently. Oil actually up $1.44, 69.58. Copper had a big move today. 14 cents in copper per pound is a big move. $4.43. You'll actually see some of the corresponding tickers had great days. SCCO, FCX had great days. CPER, and then gold is $17.90 down $10. Silver $23.81 down 37 cents. The dollar was up today.
I wanted to cover something on GameStop first. Josh, do I pull that up or do you pull that up? Because I see here on my screen some stuff is already pulled up for me. So how do I pull up that link? Is that going to be you, Josh, or me?
It's on your computer.
It's on my computer. I don't think it's on there.
Is it on the iPad?
No, I can go pull it up. Yeah, this one is not on here.
Brett should have loaded it up.
Oh, okay.
He said he did. He said he did not get a GameStop one. Let me see. I know where to find it, so let me pull it up real quick. Bear with us, everybody. We're 132 episodes into this and still figuring this out, but Slowly but surely, we're figuring it out here. But I thought this was pretty meaningful. Let's see here. Here it is right here. I'm going to go to my screen. If you could pull this. We're going to skip around because I want to talk about 9/11. And so I debated on doing it in the I debated on doing it in the beginning of the show or the end of the show or the middle of the show. So I'm going to get some stuff out of the way about the market, and then I'm going to cover 9/11. I'm going to go to the full screen here. We're still having Peyton still talking. Okay, let's go.
Talk about GameStop. Shares under pressure this morning. The drop coming even though the video game retailer posted better than expected quarterly revenues and a much narrower loss than a year earlier. The meme stock, though, isn't a stranger to huge swings. Its previous quarterly release
I thought this analyst really did an amazing job of talking about
drop during one session. Joining us right now is Anthony Chakabau. He's the managing director at Loop
Full
Capital.
disclosure, we're short GameStop.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Morning.
I don't know. I thought we were going to, I don't know if I thought the earnings were going to be better, but I thought we were going to hear something on this conference call about the future of the company. And I didn't hear much. Jim Cramer was tweeting out about it last night. I heard, that they were going to, increase warehouse space. That's pretty much where we're at.
I mean, that earnings call was shameful. I mean, absolutely, positively shameful. This is a company that is in the midst of this massive turnaround. And what do we get? We get a couple minutes of comments. There's no color whatsoever in terms of the results. There's no color whatsoever in terms of what the strategy is going to be going forward. They don't take any questions whatsoever. It is shameful. It was disrespectful to their shareholders. And it just astounded me, quite frankly.
I don't know where to go after that.
Wow.
I mean, I think the big question for those who are in it,
shameful, he says,
those who are believers, is whether there's a case to be made that this could work out in their favor. I mean, look, I like to think we're all rooting for GameStop. I think you'd want. Look, I want all companies to succeed. The question at this point is I think more than anything, a valuation.
The valuation is nonsensical. And at some point, let's just call it what it is. The emperor has no clothes. I know Ryan Cohen, founded Chewy and sold it for $1 gajillion. He's got at least three zeros in his net worth more than I do. But at the end of the day, this is Eddie Lampert with Sears all over again. At some point, we're going to have to come to the realization that the emperor.
Okay, so that's an important thing. And for those of you who don't follow who Eddie Lampert is, ESL, a very big, famous hedge fund manager, made an enormous amount of money, worked with Richard Rainwater, very talented, one of the best hedge fund managers in the world. He bought control of Sears, merged it with Kmart, and it was like two losers make a winner. And it was a slow bleed where this business that was $40-50 billion, of course, went to zero, both of them ending in bankruptcy. Yep. That's the referral to Eddie Lampert and Sears.
Has no close. There is no strategy. There's no turning this business around. And it's nonsensical that the valuation is $15 billion.
At this point, is there anything that they could tell you that would change your mind at all? I mean, there's an interesting piece that effectively says, look, this is actually now just a well-funded startup. By the way, there's other well-funded startups out there.
The difference between a startup and GameStop is that startups, their sales grow really, really fast and they lose money, but you can see visibility to them making money. I see none of that with GameStop. Yes, their sales were up because we're really early in a video game console cycle, but this is a razor and a razor blade business, right? You don't really make any money on the consoles. You make money on selling the software, and more gamers are downloading the software. And so the razor blade sales are not going to be there. So to liken this to an internet startup is an insult to internet startups.
Wow. Wow. Okay, fair value for GameStop right now. It's trading at 185 bucks.
My last valuation was $10 a share, and I haven't covered the company for quite some time, but there's nothing to make me think that it's worth any more than that. Wow. For this stock to have a $15 billion valuation is the dumbest thing I've heard in quite some time.
So you just think all these people, Anthony, I will tell you, I mean, I don't know if you have a Twitter handle because the hate is going to come.
Oh, yeah.
You and I actually have a somewhat similar view, though. I'm rooting for the company and that I'd like to see it work. I just don't know how it's going to work. For my money, I've always thought, that Ryan Cohen thought maybe he could take a $10 company and turn it into a $30 or $40 company. I think at $185, it's actually created its own complication for him. I just wonder what you tell the folks who are on Reddit right now, probably watching us, saying, the suits are after us.
Yeah, I mean, look, first off, I'm not on Twitter or Instagram
God bless
or
you.
really anything. And I've already gotten the death threats, so that's nothing new. What I will tell these people is sell the stock first and ask questions later. Look, I know it's very exciting, to the moon, diamond hands, all that type of stuff, but that's not how stocks work, okay? In the short term, stocks are weighing machines, and are voting machines. And long term, they're weighing machines. And what I mean by that is at some point, stock prices have to reflect the fundamentals of the business. They have to reflect reality. That hasn't happened for quite some time with GameStop, but eventually it will.
The Eddie Lampert of retail. Yeah. Anthony, just keep an eye out today. Just stay safe, as they say. We appreciate you joining us and being as candid as you have been, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, I'll tell you my experience. I've been doing this a long time, and in 2000, 2001, I heard a lot of the same arguments from investors about internet stocks, Pet.com, Cosmo, delivery companies, really stuff that was way ahead of its time in the internet, and people were paying huge money for them.
Yep.
A vast majority of those stocks went to zero, and I hear the same argument now, right? Which is, it's different this time. Valuation doesn't matter.
It's not.
And it always does matter. I literally have lived through this before. In 1996, 97, and 98, when the dot-com bomb, I just called it bomb, whoops. When the dot-com age came about, there was euphoria. There were retail investors that had to own Blue Fly and Books A Million in all these scenarios, and they eventually got taken to the woodshed and got their head cut off. And no one's going to like it, but you're unless you create cash to survive and build a business. They have 1.1 or 1.7 billion in the bank with 5,000 stores. They're losing money. No one understands the strategy. Hey, listen, doesn't mean it's not going to work out, but I see similarities. You got a 45 billion for full disclosure. I am short. What's that called?
Peloton?
No, GameStop.
Oh yeah,
just a little bit, like just a
you
troll
said
short.
45 billion. That's Peloton too.
No, I'm going to get to Peloton.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm short Peloton too by the puts, and in the case of Peloton, they did announce that they're going to sell clothing from the people that are the instructors.
Really?
Yeah, the instructors are will follow the people want to ride their bike to.
Yeah.
They're going to sell their clothing.
Huh.
The idea of a company like branding merchandise and selling clothing, I can't imagine how cutting edge that is. And it added $10 billion of market cap in the last couple of days because they're going to sell clothing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I can't understand how. It's just so amazing. I don't know how they came up with that.
Hooray
idea.
for yoga pants.
Now, how'd they come up with the idea? Boy. I mean, I don't understand it. Like, who gets paid at Peloton to figure out how to sell clothing? Anyways, so no similarities to 2000. None at all.
No.
Not a little bit. But that is not the reason for the show today. So let's cover the market before we get into 9/11.
We covered
anything you like? Is there any stock at all that you might like? Any?
That's funny you bring that up because there happens to be a stock that I like.
Any?
Yeah.
Any
right now, 650.
For full disclosure, we own it, a lot of it.
The market sold off bigly. Bitcoin was flat, 45.7 coming on air. Any back down to 650. Actually, any
is 650, 649 in the
It was up
aftermarket.
8 cents on the week at 650.
Yeah, interesting. Yesterday it was like 761.
Yeah.
Pretty big shorts in any today.
Nothing's changed with any. They're still
Yeah.
going to merge.
Anything you want to talk about there?
Yeah, I would like to talk about any a little bit. Let's dig into it just a little bit. For those of you that don't know, there's a press release back in June of this year where they announced a merger agreement with Griffin Digital Mining Inc. They actually brought on...
Skylar, can we see your face?
No,
Why?
Why? That's 6 feet.
it's illegal.
But they're vaccinated.
Yeah.
No, both of them.
Okay, just don't talk their way. Come on, this is ridiculous.
I would love to take my mask off.
Okay,
I just
whatever.
don't want to be forced to get vaccinated
Okay,
because
got
of it.
So maybe I can look at this a little bit bigger print here so the folks can see it. All right, this is their information. Description of Griffin Digital Mining, founded in 2020. Now, this is for any the proposed merger. Griffin is a development stage Bitcoin mining company based in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Really?
Griffin's mission is to create the world's largest fully integrated pure play on Bitcoin and mining with a zero carbon footprint.
Nice.
Pure play. So their long-term strategy is to be an industry leader in Bitcoin mining and to become the first vertically integrated Bitcoin miner with wholly owned 100% renewable energy. That sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
When they start using words like this, vertically integrated, it makes me think of somebody.
Do you know anyone like that?
Yeah, there's somebody that's we were talking about. It's interesting. Griffin's long-term goal, let's see. They want to build facilities with wholly owned multi-gigawatt renewable energy generation facility to power its Bitcoin miners. Its revenue model is to mine Bitcoin, then sell the Bitcoin that it mines to pay its operating expenses, and for the foreseeable future to reinvest in operational expansion. Hey, this sounds like a pretty cool model. You know, Riot Blockchain does that. Oh, wait, that's right. The former CEO of Riot Blockchain is going to oversee this merger. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to get into this a little bit more. We've got like an hour and a half or 2 hours today, so we can spend a little bit of time on this. Just hang with me for a minute. Rob Chang, the former CFO at Riot, he's actually 43 years old. He is slated to head up the merger. They've got a great team. Dan Tolhurst, he's actually going to be, he's with Griffin now. He'll join the team. Brittany Kaiser, director, she actually has, she's worked with a couple of other digital platforms. So you can see there's a lot of good pedigree here, a lot of younger people, some millennials in this. So let's get back to the business model with any. And what's interesting with any right now, just from a day-to-day standpoint, the borrow rate to short any is 103%. Not many shorts taking this thing into the weekend. The market just sold off. That's why it gives you, I'm not recommending it, but it gives you an opportunity to buy the dip at 650. So
You've already had a big rip in this, though. I mean, at one point we were up a full buck in this. Or
have
more.
you watched time and sales in level 2? This thing's fun to trade. Just from that standpoint, it's very liquid. You know, there's a lot of people, a lot of eyes on it. It's a fan favorite in all the chat rooms, kind of like, what is it, support.com, some of the other tickers that are BBIG, just a lot of these tickers, CEI. So it's been there's a lot of like Wall Street Bets and Atlas Trading. They've all been all over this thing.
So we're going to get to something political real quickly here. And I tend to not get involved in these things, but this part is outrageous. I mean, it's almost outrageous. So those of you are probably aware that Biden is suggesting that if you have 100 or more employees, he's going to make it mandatory that you make all your...
I've got it here. You want to see it?
Yeah, I want to play this video and literally I don't know that we need a lot of commentary. I don't care what side of the fence you're on, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, in the middle, communist, not communist.
Yeah, whatever.
Let's do this here.
So we got Jen Circleback Psaki here and Mr. Ducey, a very good journalist. Let's see.
And then why is it that you're trying to require anybody with a job or anybody who goes to school to get the COVID-19 vaccine, but you are not requiring that of migrants that continue walking across the southern border into the country?
Well, look, our objective is to get as many people vaccinated across the country as humanly possible. And so the president's announcement yesterday was an effort to empower businesses, to give businesses the tools to protect their workforces. That's exactly what we did. But certainly we want everybody to get vaccinated, and more people are vaccinated, whether they are migrants or whether they are workers, protects more people in the United States.
It's a requirement for people at a business with more than 100 people. It is not a requirement for migrants at the southern border. Why?
That's correct. Go ahead.
That's correct. She blows it off. Okay.
It's this. I don't care what side you're on. The Biden policy is dumbfounding. I honestly, we've lost our nuts here. I mean, we are crazy. I saw someone tweet today. I just laid off 6 employees so I can be below 100 people. He has 99 now.
Yeah.
This is completely insanity. This is like total. We're going to look back on this time and think, like, wait a second. If you're a communist, you can't work in Hollywood. You've been blacklisted. Wait a second. If you're Japanese and Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, we're going to put you in concentration camps. Wait a second. If you're black, you can't use the water fountain because it says whites only. Does anyone not? This is completely insane. I mean, the whole thing is turned out to be nuts.
They're literally segregating.
And I'm not on. I got to be honest with you. I'm not on your side. I mean,
know.
I'm vaccinated.
I know.
We're not arguing.
Yeah.
But even I am like, okay, this is ridiculous. You're going to let people come across the border, thousands, hundreds of thousands, unvaccinated, but you're going to punish American workers who choose to freely not be vaccinated.
Mind blowing.
It's mind blowing. People hate America. Some of these people just hate Americans. They hate success. They hate capitalism. They think that because their own success isn't there, that they should hate people that are successful.
As you know, they recently imported a bunch of Afghans ahead of American citizens in C-17s and other planes. They weren't vaccinated. They weren't tested. They just piled them in, and then they dispersed them throughout the country.
Hey, join us on the Discord or text us 949-799-1831, 949-799-1831. The rest of the show is going to be dedicated to a different topic.
Yeah.
And
but remember, Trump was the tyrant. Remember?
I remember.
Trump was the tyrant. The dictator. Trump was the dictator.
We're going to be covering something important to me. So I'm going to give you a little history. When I was much younger, I wanted to work on Wall Street. There's only kind of 2 things I ever really wanted to do: fly a plane or work on Wall Street. And someone at the time that was important to me told me, "Why don't you go work on Wall Street, and you can afford your own plane?" Thank you very much for that advice. That was my first wife. And I didn't really want to be in the Navy, flying a plane, gone for 9 months at a time. But I do like to fly when I was about 150 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot about aviation. I started flying at 13 years old. And I did go to work on Wall Street. I'd been there for 32 straight years. I took a little hiatus from 2009 to 2011 because I was bitter, but I got over my bitterness. Fast forward to where I was on 9/11. On 9/11, I was driving from Orange County, California to Santa Monica, where I had a hedge fund at 100 Wilshire Boulevard. The 15th and 17th floor, I worked at Strom. I ran Alt Glazer Capital Management at the time. And we had a hedge fund. I had a bunch of traders working for me. And I listened to on the phone or on the radio, and I heard a small private plane has run into the World Trade Center. Yep. Now, for full disclosure, I worked at Dean Witter before it merged with Morgan Stanley, and I at one point worked on the 60th floor of World Trade Center number 2. And only for the fact that my first wife didn't like New York, I would have been in that building. Ironically, when I was in my first training class at Dean Witter, I actually was to leave for the World Trade Center at Dean Witter to train there during the first bombing. A week before the first bombing, I was to leave. My class was delayed 6 weeks, and I ended up working at the Salomon Brothers building, where at the time Warren Buffett was the chairman of Salomon Brothers during the bond fiasco. So I was very familiar with the World Trade Center. I was very familiar with downtown. I lived at 7th and 31st. I took the subway there. I would go down out of the World Trade Center, get a meat knish downstairs with a Pepsi, $2.
Nice.
Had an enormous amount of friends colleagues that worked in the World Trade Center. And so I spent the better part of maybe 10 or 12 years not discussing 9/11. For me, the funny thing is I was watching the video today, and I'm like a sobby little boy or girl like, sobbing about this topic. One thing that I'm encouraged about is my daughter goes to a high school which her teacher is making her doing a report on 9/11. But to hear that people don't know about it, that history is not really being taught, and you know, this is not meant to be political, but the reality is there were a certain number of Saudi Arabians on those planes.
Correct.
There's a certain number of other groups on these planes, and they were out to kill us. And what was different between this and Pearl Harbor, in my opinion, was that was a military. The military of Japan was attacking the military of the U.S. Now, did they kill American citizens that weren't in the military? Of course they did. But this was a deliberate attack on a commercial building in the middle of the financial capital world. It was a direct attack on our way of life. And I think there are people still today in the government, elected people. I hear millennials talking about things that, you know, we shouldn't have a school named after Abraham Lincoln. The world has lost its nut. It's literally is insane. The relevancy of being woke, watching the NFL now, and it's just that things aren't better. Listen, we have had tons of problems in this country, like every other country does, but this is still the best opportunity in the world to make money, to live freely with your family. It's still one of the most wonderful places in the world. Now, there are other wonderful places. I think Japan's wonderful, but you don't have all the same freedoms in Japan you have here.
Really?
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
Oh, no. You can't. There, you can put trash in a trash can. In Japan, you have to carry it you have to carry it with you. I mean,
is that real?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, there's no trash on the streets, like there. Anywhere.
Where you literally are expected to throw away your own trash
in your home.
There's no. I mean, I'm not saying they're tyrannical.
Right.
But you don't have all the same rights in Japan that you do in the United States. But it's a great place to live. I love Japan. Yeah. But my point here is that I am going to play some things about 9/11. I'd like people to reflect on the fact of where they were. And I hope someday, and it's sort of going to be my mission going forward, at this being the 20th anniversary, what they say is never forget. I hope we truly do never forget. This was an attack on American soil. It killed all races, creeds, colors. Approximately 3,000 people died here.
Killed Arabs, killed Muslims.
Killed everybody.
Yep.
It has never left me. It has affected me forever. My wife and I watched Spike Lee's show the other day. I was traumatized by the whole thing. I had a friend at Cantor Fitzgerald, that Bill Mann, who I knew at Prudential, who died there. When I worked with a colleague so I'll try to, a lot of people on Wall Street know each other. So a gentleman had moved to go work at Cantor, had 4 kids, had only went to work at Cantor a week before. Cantor was on one of the top floors, and of course, everyone died there except for Howard Lutnick, the CEO, who I know personally. I've known Howard for the better part of 21 or 22 years. We're not great friends, but you know, Howard's very kind to me. I spent some time with him in Santa Monica, and he's always worked hard to make sure the families were taken care of. And I really hope we don't forget this. I thought a lot about what we talk about today. A lot of the stuff we talk about is not relevant, except that 20 years later, we're more divided than ever, and it is literally ideology against ideology, and they want to strip us of some freedoms. There's no question that they do.
No doubt.
And I'm referring to the current administration. They want to strip us of freedoms. No
doubt.
It's obvious by the way they're talking.
Of course.
And reality is that it feels like to me sometimes they hate their own. Like, we don't like the people who are already here.
It's sad.
And we want to punish people. You know, I never had any slaves. We want to punish people who didn't have anything to do with what happened 150 years ago. or even 80 years ago, 70 years ago. I think we've made a lot of progress. And I think on the day, on 9/11, and after that, there was a lot of pride about being an American. A lot of people cared about what was happening. And so let's look at what happened this morning with James Cramer and a few others. And we'll talk about this shortly. Go ahead. This morning
3 months,
with James Cramer and a few others, and we'll talk about this shortly.
Is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks.
This morning, hold on a second, a few others, and hold on a second. I know what's happening.
Is the 20th anniversary?
You did one of my mistakes.
Yeah, I pulled a Jason. Okay, let's start over here. Sorry about that, guys.
Stocks do look to steady this morning after a 4-day loss, the longest in nearly 3 months, amid the ongoing growth concerns related to the pandemic. More importantly, though, today is the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, and all morning long we are going to honor the lives lost that day. We're going to remember the heroes who responded and reflect on the impact on the community, of course, and the nation. Jim, the phrase is never forget, and we're going to work hard to make sure that we don't.
I think that it's imperative upon people to remember that there's a whole generation now of young people don't know it. There's a fantastic museum which shows you what the world was like the minute before and then after. I don't know how to create a mass pilgrimage to that museum, but you know, David, look, when you think about your kids, where were they when it happened? The answer is
they weren't on this planet. Yeah, no, they were not. But the memorial, of course, which we see quite often, given it's very close by, is an incredibly moving remembrance for so many of the people that we lost.
I find that I remember when I grew up, my father would say, listen, Pearl Harbor, he volunteered the day after, the day to live in infamy. This is a day to live in infamy, but I don't know how many people know that the day is infamy.
Well, one thing we can do, of course, is go back and look at the video of that morning. It was a day, of course, in which our now past colleague Mark Haynes was anchoring along with Joe and David. This is the moment when Mark, I believe, was talking to Bill Nygren of Oakmark and had to cut away. Take a look.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you right now. We have a what appears to be a very serious. Is that the World Trade Tower?
Yeah.
This is
Mark. A plane hit it? They think so.
This is one of the towers of the World Trade Center in Manhattan, which is clearly heavily involved in a smoke situation, and one would assume there is fire.
It wasn't long after that moment, David, when you started checking in with your sources, having spoken to people who were talking to people in the building.
That's right. I remember getting a phone call from somebody who had spoken to somebody, I think, at Canner, and they said, we think the plane has hit the building, which, you know, I shared on TV, and soon after we saw those pictures, but obviously there was still a great deal of uncertainty at that point. Always remember, of course, it was a magnificent day, very similar to the day we have today.
So I hope that people would consider it. Hold on a second here. Is this on? Go ahead. Please put it on.
And as we look back and remember friends and family who died on 9/11, we also remember the day the markets reopened. That was September 17th. The heroes who rang the opening bell on that day and the struggle of those who worked downtown in the aftermath. There were very deep psychological scars on all of us who worked downtown that only gradually emerged. Everyone down here had a friend or family member who had died. There was also the grim reality of working downtown in the aftermath. The financial district had morphed into a partly closed armed camp. It was almost impossible to cross Canal Street, the dividing line between Soho, Chinatown, and the financial district, unless you were a resident or worked at the NYSE or on Wall Street. Police were everywhere, on every corner, and nobody knew if there was going to be another attack coming. There was, above all, the smoldering pit of the World Trade Center. The smoke would not disappear for more than a year, and it could be seen for miles around. The worst was the smell, the acrid odor of still burning paper, office furniture, and building materials. Some on Wall Street decided to leave the business, but many, in fact the majority, actually stayed. Some firms did relocate. I joined a Buddhist meditation center and learned how to meditate. It taught me that the world was ever-changing and to stop fighting the things that I didn't like that had happened and concentrate on what I could control, my own thoughts. It calmed me down, and I still meditate. As for the markets, they stayed closed for 4 days. It was the longest shutdown since the Great Depression.
Wow.
The day the markets reopened, that was September 17th, 2 minutes of silence were observed on the floor. Members of the New York City police and fire departments representing the heroes of 9/11 sang God Bless America, and then the police and the firefighters, along with Senators Hillary Rodham Clinton and Charles Schumer, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, New York Governor George Pataki, and SEC Chairman Harvey Pitt, all rang the opening bell together. That day was not a good one for the markets. The Dow dropped 5%, the S&P 500 dropped 7%, but nobody cared. What was important was that the market was open again. The 9/11 disaster helped push the U.S. economy into a recession. The stock market went into a slow tailspin and didn't bottom until October of 2002. But the one thing that I remember very clearly was that everyone came to work on that day. And speaking of coming to work, my dear friend and mentor, Art Cashin, is back with us on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and he'll be giving us his perspective at 10:15 Eastern Time.
Well,
yeah,
that was a little bit of what was a terrible time. I don't know if I want to dwell on it. I mean, I guess I want to remember it. It makes me really sad. I would encourage everyone to read or to watch that movie Spike Lee made. It did cover parts of it. People didn't realize that there was a maritime rescue at the end of Manhattan Island where they had to offload about 400,000 or 500,000 people on boats. Ferry captains came together to move people across the river. So anyways, I've ignored this topic for the better part of 20 years. I won't watch anything about it. In fact, this is the most I've probably watched in years. It effectively changed my opinion and maybe opened the naivete that the world was a cruel place, because I had never known hatred, really. I had grown up in HUD housing where I lived with a diverse group of people, black, white, Caucasian, Hispanic, you name it. I didn't really even know, really anything really. Did not grow up in any kind of racial divide until I learned about people trying to kill us. I'd never heard of Al Qaeda before that.
Mm-hmm.
So it really did mark for me a start about. So September 11th happened, 2001, right? Yeah, so 20 years ago. Fast forward 6, 7, 8 months later, I'm getting a divorce from my first wife. It was a cloud of misery. Now, granted, people could argue, well, Todd, you didn't die in 9/11. You're lucky you weren't there. You did work there.
Right.
But it does make me reflect today that there's a lot of hatred, right? You should see the things that people write just to me on Twitter.
To you.
It's just to me about me.
Yeah.
And I don't really care. I mean, I'm like Gary Vee. I have the power to not care what people say. But then I see what people say to other people.
It's bad.
What people say to women, the denigration of them online, the objectification. Listen, I appreciate a pretty girl like the next person, but we do some really terrible things to each other. We're one of the only species that attacks themselves the way we do it. Right?
It's bad.
People do terrible things to each other,
and it starts when they're kids, bullies.
Yeah, for sure.
Right on the schoolyard,
right.
Playground. It's crazy.
So I'm trying to reflect 20 years later. Brett, where were you? Brett, where were you in 9/11?
Well, I was given a phone call and said, "Turn on the TV right now." 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So
I think that's kind of what happened with everyone, right? Turn on the TV.
Yeah, because it was early in the morning for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Where were you, in Vegas?
I was here in Vegas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been even earlier because it was the first attack was 6/11.
I didn't see that part. I saw the second one hit.
Oh. You were what?
I was skateboarding to school and I showed up and everyone was freaking out and I didn't believe it.
How old were you?
I was 6th grade, so about 12.
Do you remember it?
Oh yeah, and we watched the whole thing and I was like, this can't be freaking real. And then all of a sudden we saw the next one and then everything went to shit.
Everyone thought it sounded like if you watch Spike Lee's movie, they say they thought they were watching a movie. They thought it was a movie.
Yeah.
the worst part for me, and by the way, I want to say I shouldn't even be reflecting on me because nothing happened to me other than massive psychological damage. I think I lost the most money I've ever lost in a single time frame.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll give you the market side of this from me.
Yeah, talk about that.
I was long. I had a massive option portfolio. So the market didn't open for 4 days, and when it opened, I got obliterated.
Yep.
But during I used to trade on something, and unfortunately, unless you know my business, you will not know what I'm talking about. I used to trade on something called eSpeed, and eSpeed was a trading platform that allowed me to trade treasury bonds. And so I was long about 50 million notional, I believe, treasury bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And the treasury bonds went crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But Canner, who ran eSpeed, was annihilated. There was no trading for me. I want to emphasize, I'm not looking for people to feel sorry for me. The way I even say anything about me afterwards, I feel like I shouldn't be saying this in 9/11 out of respect for the people who passed away. I'm just telling you how it affected me, the event, and my firm. So treasuries had rallied 5 full points.
Yeah.
That's probably up $500,000. And I tried to trade in Japan. They wouldn't let me. I couldn't get the Japanese to execute a trade for me on eSpeed. It was terrible. But the market did open. The market persevered.
Mm-hmm.
It takes like crises in this country,
I know,
for us to come together, right?
It's bad.
It takes a crisis. And we did come together for a while.
Giuliani was the hero. Now people hate him. Whatever.
Todd's got me all down. I knew that was going to be the case. I'm sorry. I admit, I've ignored this this situation, and I can see people in the Jeff Bombchill. My sister worked for Deloitte, was working in what she called the World Financial Center Complex, which I know where that is, Jeff, right across the street. She witnessed events and saw people jump out of the window to get away from the extreme heat.
Yeah.
What is my message about this? My message is that I hope that any of you who watch this show will educate your kids about what happened and that you will try to not forget this, because really, honestly, it was a dramatic event that I don't understand how. Do you think it's, am I wrong? Is it my perception that this has been whitewashed a little bit or not?
It has.
Skyla,
Yeah.
so can you take off the mask for a second.
They don't
No one's
even
going to get
teach it.
COVID from you, okay? Thanks. So you were how old when this happened?
11 months.
You were 11
I wasn't even a
11
year
months.
old yet.
So you didn't remember it happening, obviously, because you were 11.
No.
But you went to school, and let's say that over the next 10 years, so fast forward, you're almost exactly 20-something to the age of this event being happening. In fact, you turned 1 a month later.
Yeah.
So when were you taught about this in school, and to what extent were you taught about?
I mean, yeah, like every 9/11, every year we talked about it. I mean, there was videos shown in class and stuff like that. And I mean, the teachers like reflected on their emotions about it. But like, I mean, everyone obviously in my class was a year old when it happened.
Right.
So like, I mean, I understand and like feel other people's emotions about it, but like, I can't even like, my eyes are getting teary just like you being upset about it. Like, I can't even imagine that happening. It's horrible.
It was horrible.
You remember the World Series?
Yeah.
Dude, you should see the intro from back then.
Yeah, can you play it?
This is amazing.
Because this part's inspirational.
Do you remember
I thought
this? This was Derek Jeter.
I thought this was massively
Let's watch this.
inspirational, and I loved what George Bush did.
Let's cheer
too.
this up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
Yeah,
What a
please.
beautiful game. Through the years, baseball has inspired our nation.
There's a long drive.
Decade after decade, the games went on through the most difficult of times.
December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
We once again find ourselves in trying times. As a nation, we've been tested, but America has gotten up. America always gets up. So many Americans before us fought for freedom, And with that freedom, our past time has grown into our present time.
We know who the real heroes are. They're down there defending our country.
Now the World Series will be played for the very first time here in the Arizona desert. And with this series, so many stories are ready to unfold. The Diamondbacks have a couple of aces who provide a powerful 1-2 punch that hasn't been seen in decades. And for the Yankees, a shortstop made a play that just may have saved a dynasty.
Derek Jeter with one of the most unbelievable plays you will ever see by a shortstop.
New York and Arizona, the history of one and the sparkling newness of the other. Will it be championship number 27 or simply a special number 1? But tonight, the biggest story of them all is that the World Series is being played.
It's an honor to be part of the World Series.
The great American game of baseball plays on tonight and will carry on long after. A game woven into our country's fabric and foundation. An inspiring escape back to a time of innocence. The World Series is being played between Arizona and New York, but being played for and in honor of the American people and all the wonder that lies from sea to shining sea. We are very proud to present Game 1 of the 2001 World Series only on Fox.
So I wanted to show the one. That's the Arizona game.
Right.
But I want to find the one where
You want to show the one
Yankee
where,
Stadium one.
Yeah, where George Bush threw out the first pitch, right?
I'm going to find it.
That was pretty inspirational for
Yeah.
sure. I appreciate, let's see, NC Sound LLC. I was teaching full-time as a college professor. I went to work. Nobody knew what I do for about 10 minutes outside the event. Well, I remember seeing it on TV, cafeterias, snack break. I had friends, just moved to New York, twin sisters, and they fell to the ground crying.
Mm-hmm. Here it is. Nick. This is it right here.
People are lined up 10, 20, 50 deep. It's a mob scene outside. Much more of a police presence. You go through the magnetometer, hand search. This had another level of intensity to it. I remember seeing guys holding automatic weapons, and I remember thinking to myself, this is now my America.
Walking into the locker room and seeing a bomb dog go through your locker. These were reminders of what was going on around us.
Another reason for the heightened security was the appearance of a guest from Washington.
Yeah, look at him practicing.
Look at him getting loosened
As
up.
we walked into the locker room, there was a gentleman standing there that we had never seen before. And he says, well, President Bush is going to come,
Umpire.
and he's going to throw out the first pitch.
That's the umpire,
And we
yeah.
need a Secret Service agent on the field. And so I'm going to dress as an umpire. He had communications. He had guns. He had things hooked on the
Dude, I
back.
didn't
He had
know
things
that.
hooked
That's
on the
crazy.
front. And I said, how are you going to hide all that stuff? He says, don't worry. He says, it'll disappear. All of a sudden, there was a knock at the door, and President Bush walked into our room.
Thank you. Will you do me a favor and say hi to my son because he's one of your biggest supporters? Jimmy?
Jimmy, how are you?
Well, when you're president, all you have to do is say you're showing up, and they kind of ask you to throw out the first pitch, no matter what time of year it is.
This is my first World Series.
Really?
Yeah. I vowed I'd never go to a World Series unless the Rangers got in.
He's on the Rangers.
You know, I wanted to make sure that if I was going to throw out the ball,
Yeah, this is good.
I was able to do so with a little zip. You know, I didn't think that their president was incapable
You mean
of
you want to
finding
throw
the
like
plate.
Obama?
So I go underneath the Yankee Stadium, in the bowels of Yankee Stadium, and there's a hitting cage there.
And he's wearing his bulletproof jacket, and he's getting his arm loose, and Derek Jeter comes up to him.
Hey, Prez, how are you doing? Good, Derek. That's good luck tonight. Thank you, sir. He said, say, I hear you're throwing out the first ball.
So I just asked him if he was going to be throwing the first pitch from the mound or in front of the mound.
The president said, I think I'll throw from the base of the mound. Jeter said, I want to do that if I were you, Mr. President.
And I told him, you better throw it from the mound, otherwise you're going to get booed. I said, this is Yankee Stadium.
I said, okay, I'll throw from the mound. And he's walking out, and he looks over his shoulder, and he says, don't bounce it. They'll boo you. And so the pressure, all of a sudden, I'm sitting there kind of fairly relaxed and feeling fairly loose, and the great Derek Jeter, don't bounce it, they'll boo you. And all of a sudden the pressure mounted.
The President of the United States.
I'd never felt what I'd felt before when I walked out of that dugout. I felt the raw emotion of the Yankee fans.
USA! The crowd just erupts in a chant of USA. There is nothing like it that I've ever experienced at a ball game. It was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming.
President Bush is standing out there like a brick wall. I'm not afraid of terrorists. I'm going to stand all out here. I'm going to give you a thumbs up, and I'm going to throw a strike.
Nice.
I didn't vote for him, but at that point, my personal feelings about him as a politician is gone. I watched him, and he was my representative, and I had never felt that way before.
Very nice throw, Mr. President. Good stuff, good stuff. At that moment, everybody there was there for baseball and to show the world that in spite of what can happen to us, we'll pull ourselves together, and what is our life and our way of life will continue.
United we stand. We stand together in the face of this threat. We will play baseball in the midst of the beginnings of this war. No matter what the threat may be to us, the United States of America will stand strong and will never be intimidated.
So 20 years later, we leave Afghanistan.
Yep.
Like a bunch of fools. So, but listen, this will pass. One of the things that happened after 9/11 that was probably the most disappointing thing is that the government has used this to have the pendulum swing so far that they have eroded civil liberties. And there's no question about it. When you go to open an account now, you're treated as if you're a money launderer. Everything is whitewashed with money laundering. Oh, my wife opened an account for the Girl Scouts and had to go through money laundering things.
Dude.
We overreact in this country in both directions. We're overreacting now because we're woke and we think about things that happened before.
You can't cancel history.
No, they want to cancel
doing
lots
it.
of things. They're trying to cancel
And then
it.
the Patriot Act.
But
and,
there will be a massive backlash for the people who care about this country, especially if you have to lose your civil liberties before you fight for them. But listen, it's a free country, and we're still free, right?
Yeah, somewhat.
No, we're free. Listen,
Okay.
I have had a year and a half ago.
It's all relative.
I got to give the government prop, right? A year and a half ago, they helped save the company, DPW All Global, by the PPP loan.
That's true.
They allowed us to save jobs. There's a lot of things that are great about this country. I wish we were I wish we were down the middle a little bit.
Yeah.
I wish we weren't polarized to right or left so hardcore. I kind of really don't even know where I'm going with this. Why am I bringing this up? Obviously, let's talk a business a little bit. 20 years later, in the last week for my hedge fund, I bought over 1 million shares of DPW. That's been reported publicly. I'm bullish more than ever on DPW and Alzamend. I'm bullish on the market, although I do think we're going to have a sell-off. Yeah, it is. This person says getting hammered daily. Yeah, I think there's overhang there for sure. And the overhang of Alzamend will eventually pass. What's most important is that Alzamend gets that drug into human beings.
Yeah.
And I think once you see that drug, which has been cleared to go into humans, is actually in humans.
Yep.
That's when things start. What do you think?
I was just thinking, Lee Greenwood. Remember he sang the national anthem? That was wicked.
Was it great?
This last weekend I was in
Dude,
Bishop,
he's
right?
amazing.
And they sang the national anthem, and like it was a whole stadium of people, and it was like the most normal I felt in the last 2 years.
Was
'Cause
it?
It was this whole stadium of people getting together, singing the national anthem, and everyone sang it, and it was just like I had tears in my eyes, and I was like looking up at Roland, and I was like, I feel normal, like this is what's supposed to happen, and we haven't done that in at least 2 years.
Skyla,
And
if you
just-
could do me a favor, go grab Randy for me. Guys, I
Yes.
appreciate you supporting us. I know that this show has not been the same the last couple weeks. We suffered from COVID.
Yeah.
We suffered from office shutdown because of COVID out here. Jason, you were out for a little bit. Skyla was out for a little bit. One of my best friends was in the hospital for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
But we are recovering here, and we're trying to get back to normal. We will keep you guys informed of future shows. Randy, as soon as Randy's done, we'll have a few other comments, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, Deutsche Bank talking about, 10%, 15% haircut in the market. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's an article today on Market Watch. Risk of hard stock market valuation correction is growing, says Deutsche Bank. And they just begin to talk about the valuations of, some equities, the overall equity markets. Yeah.
We are going to cover a few stocks like CEI and a few others before we close it out.
Yeah.
But Randy, let's go to you very quickly. You got a few minutes. What's happening this weekend?
We got IndyCar in Portland. Final 3-race stretch of the season for the championship. Pato Award with a 10-point lead. Can't have any mistakes here.
Right
Gotta
there.
Finish strong all these 3 races and close it out, hopefully. I told you guys when I first came on this show in April, look out for Pato Award. And whether he wins or loses, you can say, well, you were wrong. But, I mean, he's been there all year. He's in the lead now with 3 races to go. So I hope he can close out. But if not, what I said was true. He's here to stay. So. And then Formula One's in Monza in Italy. They had a qualifying this morning, actually. This is one of the races where they're doing something weird. They're doing at 3 different events. They're having qualifying today, and then tomorrow's a sprint race. And then in tomorrow's sprint race, however they finish, that's how they line up for the race on Sunday, which they usually don't do that. Today would have been practice. Tomorrow would have been qualifying, and then the race Sunday. So today they had the qualifying for the sprint race, and Bottas took pole. Hamilton was second, and Verstappen was third. Lando Norris was fourth. But Bottas had an unapproved engine change, so no matter what he does tomorrow, even if he wins that sprint race, he's not going to start first in the race on Sunday. He's going to have a 15-grid penalty for this unapproved engine change, so he's going to be way back no matter what happens. It's probably going to be Hamilton and Verstappen at the front. They're fighting for the championship with 9 races to go, so that's getting really close too. So, and you didn't know, I didn't tell you last week, Kimi Räikkönen announced he's retiring.
I did see that.
Yeah, he's retiring. So now there was an open spot at Alfa Romeo, which will be taken by Bottas. Mercedes is letting Bottas go now. He will go to Alfa. And George Russell from the Williams teams, who's a really good driver, I really like him. He's going to Mercedes. Finally, there's a driver that can take it to Hamilton. Finally.
But Bottas was great, though. He's a good driver.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was
Really?
he's a good blocker.
Huh.
He's a good blocker. That's all he ever did. I mean, he won a handful of races.
Is he Ruben Barrichello all over again?
Yeah,
Bottas?
well, I'd rate Barrichello higher than Bottas for sure. I think Barrichello was a good driver. He just couldn't match Schumacher. But, I mean, Bottas has never had a chance against Hamilton. I mean, he had a handful of wins. He's had the best car on the grid. If you're good like Nico Rosberg was, who retired, unfortunately. I knew when Rosberg retired, I was in trouble because he was the only guy that could be in that team that could challenge Hamilton. Once he left, look what happened. Hamilton rolls off 4 in a row or whatever it is, 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that was going to happen. So it's good. This Russell kid's
I only have
good.
2 commentaries for you. You can't deny that Hamilton's a great racer when you do 5 in a row, no matter who you are. That's like saying that Barry Bond, because he's juiced up, could hit a home run.
Oh,
My
yeah.
friend, come on. You still have to hit the ball. The ball's still
Yes.
coming at you 100 miles an hour. I don't care how much steroids you take. Lewis Hamilton still has to drive the car, Randy, to win the race. You know he's a great racer, despite the fact that you don't like him.
Dude, don't get irritated. I don't like him.
Okay, that's fine, but you know he's a great racer.
I just want
You
somebody-
know he's a great racer.
Here's what
just
I wa-
like Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame and Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. All these people judging these people who've made mistakes, we as a country should forgive some of these people and allow that to happen. But that's a whole different commentary. Randy, where were you on 9/11? Where were you specifically?
we don't have-
do you remember exactly what you were doing?
Do you have enough time? Because this is, I was going to tell you in private, actually, because
I want you to tell me the
you
story.
know the person that I worked with, and I don't like this person, so I don't really want to kind of bring it up on air. If you want me to, I will. Or I'll start telling you, and you tell me when I'm out of time.
Okay.
Okay. I woke up. I was living in LA with my wife.
Uh-huh.
I got up to take a shower. I was working at that time at Zen Electronics in Laguna Hills, which is a 50-mile drive each way every day. It was a nightmare doing that drive, but I had moved out of Huntington Beach because the rent got too high. So I got in the shower to get ready to go to work. And when I got out of the shower, my wife goes, she had the TV on, and I could see this Twin Tower was on fire, one of them.
Just for the record, you had a beautiful, like incredibly beautiful wife, by the way.
Yeah, she was nice. And so she was watching TV, and I saw the Twin Tower on fire, and I go, what happened? I asked her what happened. She said, oh, in Spanish, she told me that an airplane crashed into it. I go, wow, what a trip. And well, I got to get going, you know. So she was home. She was going to go to work later. I took off. I'm in my car on the 405 freeway driving to Laguna Hills, and I'm hearing minute by minute they're saying, well, this doesn't look like an accident. This looks like it could be a terrorist attack. And the eeriest, trippiest thing about that whole day was when I got off on Lake Forest Drive to where I had to get off to work, all the cars around me, I could hear they had the same exact KFWB radio on, and it was like in stereo. I could hear everybody was listening to the radio. Everybody was listening to what's going on around me, and it gave me chills. Right now I'm getting chills thinking about it, but I had to go to work. I didn't want to go to work. As soon as I pulled off that off-ramp, I thought, I don't want to go to work. I need to go see what the hell's going on here. This is serious shit. Excuse my language. But I got to work, and this guy, Mark Bach, who was my boss, who was a complete jerk, and like I said, I'm not going to get into that point of it, but when I got to work, I said, look what's going on here. I go, hey, can I go home? And he goes, no, we got to work today. But nobody was working because everybody's watching the TV. So people were like, half-assed doing something, but really nobody was working anyway, so I didn't understand the point of us being at work when this ordeal was going on. I really wanted to be home watching the news and figure out what was going on. So I had to work all day, and I really couldn't sit there and watch TV because I had shipping to do, and it was a cable TV equipment company. Like, we shipped cable TV equipment and refurbished it, and I kind of had to spend the whole day doing that. So I had to get home that night, and I kind of saw later on, I knew what was going on at work, but I kind of had to rehash it at night when I got home and see what was going on, and then reconnect with my wife and then figure it all out. But when I left in the morning, I had zero idea that was a terrorist attack. I thought it was an accident. A plane crashed into this building. So it was a long day. It was a crappy day.
When I worked where I was on the way to my office, I got to my office. We were on the 15th floor, and we eventually evacuated because we were a very prominent building in Santa Monica, the tallest white building in Santa Monica. We thought, okay, this is getting out of control, especially with Flight 93 and the Pentagon, etc. Yeah, that was terrible. Hey, Randy, thanks for sharing that story. Yeah, I happen to know Mark Bach, by the way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mark Bach is my ex-brother-in-law.
Yeah, he's a punk for making us work. I mean, everybody should have been sent home. I mean, it was nobody could concentrate. Everybody's thinking
there was no way to do that. People were dying. It was terrible.
Right.
And things were happening at the Pentagon and at in Flight 93.
Yeah.
Let's roll, as we remember.
Yeah. Remember the guy from the Pennsylvania? He's Mark Bingham. Is that his name? Hold on.
One of them was named Todd something.
Yeah, the other guy. Yep.
Yeah. Let's roll, he said.
Let's roll.
Yeah, I saw something later that night. Like I said, I had to catch up at night when I got home because I missed the whole day working, kind of. When I got home, I saw the most unbelievable footage there was no commentary, there was nobody speaking, and it was somebody who filmed the first plane crashing into it. And you could just hear the engines, and then when it hit, you hear this this double explosion. It was so crazy. I'll never forget that sound, dude.
Yeah,
it was
for sure.
So crazy.
It's in Spike Lee's, the firemen and all those people that were filming it's in Spike Lee's show.
Yep.
Hey, let's get to the bankroll challenge right now and talk about what's happening there.
We are we're not doing much there. We're all in.
On what?
Any.
But what about CEI? You're out of that now?
Yeah, CEI we're out of.
It rallied though pretty big.
It went to $1.50.
Would you identify it at?
48 cents. No. 39 cents.
39 cents.
Yeah.
Wow. For sure.
But we're in bankroll challenge. Skyla's in any 150 shares all in. We could have taken profit up around 750. She's in at 660, almost made a point.
For full disclosure, we've traded a little bit. We bought 270,000 shares. We sold like 30,000 shares. We bought some back today, down around 650 or so.
We're waiting to get. I got a target of 8 to 9 where we'll take profit and move the money into another play. Bankroll ideas on Discord. AUMN, I'm long. We made profit on Canon, CEI, obviously any. What else? There's a couple other ones that Well, let's just take a look here.
I think it's going to be a very busy next week. We're probably going to have a show on Monday covering a few topics. We should have a very, very busy week. Next week, even though it's sort of the middle of September,
we
probably will have a show on Monday.
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
So,
hey guys, we appreciate you tuning in to this abbreviated show. I know we didn't cover a lot of the markets, but we did cover at a time.
Oh, you want to get? Let me just give a couple of.
Go ahead.
I'm not recommending these stocks, but you've seen a huge reversal. The uranium sector, a ticker like URG, for example, has been one of our swing trades in the past. A couple of copper ideas: SCCO, Southern Copper. And, of course, FCX, another one of my favorites. Look for the sectors in the energy sectors to keep growing. Also, NAK has, as the king likes NAK. We like NAK. We're long NAK.
Yeah, NAK moved today.
So, yeah.
So I want to play one last thing about 9/11 that happened this morning. I do want to say a few things, and that is I'm grateful to live in this country. I'm grateful enough to be born in this country. As Buffett says, it was a 1 in 40 chance that I'd even be born here.
Yeah.
There's a lot this country has done for me and my family. I try to give back by making sure that I have employees that are paid well and that have jobs. I'm a believer in the American dream. I'm still a believer in the power of owning equities, the power of the market. And I am a pragmatist in the sense that I think things will pass. Things over time, the pendulum swings one way hard and the other way hard. It always is in flux. There's always this dramatic belief on one side or the other. There's a whole lot that can be learned from history. And in that regard, I believe in this theory that we should never forget what happened on 9/11. I personally will not. I didn't think I'd make it through this show. I was crying.
That was tough.
I was crying over there, you know. I don't know how you know, for those people who are my age, I don't know how old you have to be to know how it affected you, but this was one of the top probably 4 events of my life that affected the way I am, and I gained a lot of weight after. I did a lot of things. I don't blame 9/11. I just blame my reaction to it. But I appreciate everyone listening. I hope everyone will never forget what happened. I sure hope the current political situation changes a little bit. I'm reading that 3 out of 4 Americans don't like the direction the country's going.
Yeah.
Don't like the leadership now, but yet
this is what they all voted for, right?
But well,
allegedly.
They wanted the devil out of there.
I won't
now,
get into that.
Now they got this. So
80 million people voted for
Yeah,
it.
come on.
So I don't want to hear the complaints.
Yeah.
They've got a supermajority in the Congress, and they've got the presidency.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on? That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. They've had their shots. In
Right.
8 months, we've seen the results. Not
Right.
pretty.
No. That being said, I'm going to play this. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Thank you.
Downtown Manhattan today, of course, the Freedom Tower. It is a somber morning, a bit of a tough morning. It always is as we remember 9/11, but especially so today as the 20th anniversary of the attacks is tomorrow. We had a moment of silence here at the NYSE at 9:03. That was the moment that the second plane, UAL 175, hit the second tower. But traditionally here on the street, moments of silence are at 9:20, and that's where we will turn at the NASDAQ for their own moment of silence right now.
Hey, I hope that you kiss your loved ones.
Carl, of course,
I hope you kiss your loved ones. I hope you have a great weekend. And I'm going to end this on a positive note. Stay tuned for next week.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Those of you who watch this show and support me and the company, All Global, Alzheimer's Neuro, and all the businesses that we invest in, we try to employ the most people we can. We try to do the right things by people. We're super grateful that you're our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you are our family. Some of you are loved ones. Some of you are new to the show. And I hope you appreciate the fact that we care about you. And I know there are days where the show doesn't go perfect. We don't cover every topic you want to cover. We appreciate all of you. I see Junk Tehran and I see Double Trouble and the people out there. Randy's here, Skyla, Nick, Brett, Josh, Tyler. Tyler did a lot of the show today here.
Yeah.
See, he was doing a little bit of this work.
Yeah.
Hey, text me at 949-799-1831. On Monday or Tuesday, we will have update on the conference that's going to happen. Have a good weekend. Hug your loved ones. We'll see you.